We travelled to the remote northwestern corner of Namibia, the Kunene Region, which is home to the desert-adapted rhino. The world's last free-roaming black rhino is also one of the world's most threatened species. Simson Uri-Khob, the CEO of Save the Rhino Trust Namibia, has lived and worked in this region for many years. He shares with us the history of rhino conservation here.
Start us off at the beginning. What is Save the Rhino Trust?
Save the Rhino Trust is an NGO, a non-governmental organization registered with the government and had an agreement with the Ministry of Environment and Tourism to take care of rhinos in the Kunene and Erongo region. This is the only place in the world where you get actually free roaming rhino, which means they are free on communal land within communities with no fences.
Incredible. But why is it important that you have an organization that protects them?
In the first place, I think overall the government is having the responsibility of protecting and looking after all the wildlife. But years ago, the poaching went out of hand, and Blythe Lutit, late Blythe Lutit, actually started with this organization called Save the Rhino Trust with the help of Garth Owen Smith, especially to protect the rhinos because they could see them going extinct within a few years during the late 80s.
Okay, so take us through what is it that you do as the protectors of the rhino. What does that mean?
What actually happened is the trackers going out in the field to monitor the rhinos, go early in the mornings to the springs. They armed with a camera, a GPS, and a rangefinder and an ID book. So each rhino that they found, they have to take a picture of the animal, a front view, back view, and a side view, fill in the ID form in, the distance from the animal, and also the location. But all this information is kept very secretly. It's a security matter. Okay. Because you can't send or give all this out to people. Otherwise, they will know where the rhinos are.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't really talk about numbers. We don't talk about distributions, but we know where they are.
Okay. And so you said armed out in the field with basically a notebook against poachers that are armed with highly dangerous weapons and more. How is this an equal fight?
In the beginning, we didn't have the poaching really. I mean, after it stopped in the 80s, it was quiet, so we were only armed with this. But now in 2013, 14, 15, when the poaching started, we changed the way of our theory of doing things. And that's where it comes that we have involved the Namibian police, who is armed and who do law enforcement, and they are patrolling with their rangers now and the trackers.
Okay, incredible. It must be so scary being out in the field and speaking to some of the trackers. We've heard that. But another thing is that your trackers are working 7 days a week, walking incredible distances out in this wild landscape to protect the rhinos. Why is it that they do this? It's hard work.
Yeah, it's really hard work, and I must say I was part of it because I started right on the ground as a tracker.
Okay.
And I worked all the way up to be the CEO now, and I know how hard it is. It's commitment and dedication and the passion that you have for the animals.
Yeah, passion.
It's really hard. And this is one of the harshest areas in Namibia even. It's a desert and all these animals are roaming around in these areas and they have to find them. But the commitment is there and they enjoy their work.
Oh, beautiful. And talking about work, is it working, Simson? Is this way of protecting our rhinos, is it working?
For us in Namibia, it's working, and I think it's again the only place in the world where we're doing it this way. We don't do things like, we do camera traps and stuff, but we more realize on going out on foot, find the animal and see it physically.
Okay.
So it really works.
And this is a success story really of Namibia, that our rhino numbers are continuing to grow, that we're protecting them against being poached to an extent because of collaboration, right?
Yes, and that's because of collaboration with the Namibian police, the traditional authorities, and most importantly, the communities.
Okay, tell me about that.
They are our eyes and ears on the ground because I don't think without the communities we would have such a success in Namibia.
Okay.
And that's only because of this CBRNM program that the government posted in, where communities do have the rights to wildlife. And now they also have the rights to rhinos, not hunting them or selling them or whatever, but through tourism rights. So they can do rhino tracking tourism, which is a big business now in Namibia at all the lodges. And here in the Kunene region, where we had communities owning the concessions and communal land, they can make direct benefits out of rhino tracking tourism.
Beautiful, and that makes all the difference, right? So the wildlife, the ownership of the wildlife goes back to the communities.
That's the big difference that's there in Namibia.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful, and perhaps a model that we could be sharing with the rest of the world. What does it feel like when a rhino is poached?
It's very bad. I could witness some of the trekkers that was crying really tears for seeing a dead rhino. It's really hard. It's like you had something in your house that you are protecting for so long, and 2 minutes when you go away from home, somebody comes and kill it. And it's really bad. And we know these rhinos on names, IDs, everything. And we're there with them.
If you could say anything to the poachers that are taking our rhinos, what would it be?
I would only say, it's not really worth come and steal something that somebody has been trying to save for so long, and it's not actually belonging to us, but it's belonging to the nation, and mostly to the communities, the poor communities that we try to uplift the poorness. So I don't think we do have a place in between the communities for poachers.
What do you love about rhinos?
Actually,
Why rhinos?
Just sitting and watching them when they're interacting, when they're browsing in the water holes. They're so peaceful. They're not worried about the surroundings, and they're just doing their things. And they are not a threat to anyone if you understand them.
That's the key. But they are really beautiful and majestic creatures.
Yeah, they are. And I don't think I want to tell my children one day that we had rhinos in Namibia. I want to show them live rhinos.